Hi, everybody. Welcome to It's in the Cards. Hope everybody's well. Stay safe. For those in the middle of storms right now, we're expecting it in the next few hours to start up. It's going to be a long-lasting storm. They're saying not start till around midnight and last until noon tomorrow. The weather has warmed up after the winter. I'm not saying anything or complaining about the heat. Talk to me in about a month or so when it's 100 out. Then it might be a little different story. I hope everybody's had a fabulous week. School's winding down. Colleges, for the most part, I think, are out. And the rest of the schools start getting out here next week. Some not till the following week, depending on how they handled all the snow days that we had to make up. Some built them into the calendar, some didn't, but took away the vacation days, through the holidays and things like that, and shortened days off. They made half a days, full days to make up for them. So be safe and extra careful out there, because in the next couple weeks, as the days go by, more and more kids are going to start being home and running around in the streets, running out, chasing their ball, riding their bikes, whatever. So you want to be extra safe and extra alert coming up in the next couple weeks with that. I've been getting a bunch of questions from people. Sending me emails. A lot of the questions I've been getting are from people that are just starting out reading or are running into problems that they're confused about. So the topic this evening that will include a lot of the questions lately that I've been getting is going to be about reading for yourself and how many cards you need to do a reading has also been one of the questions that's been asked that we can include in that. You can do as far as that one. I'll do that one first. The person asking about, a lot of the questions reading themselves with the storms just got blown out of the chat room I see right now. So I will start with how many cards you need to do a reading. One. You can do a full reading with just one card, or, if you're using certain spreads, they require, especially if you're following like the Celtic Cross and things, they require a certain designated amount of cards because they have certain layouts and positions for them that they follow. But you can use as little as one card or endlessly. I know, for an example, I believe it's Mary Greer, had done a demonstration years ago where she stood up and she shuffled the deck and she did, I think it was a 78 card read in, I think it was 5 minutes or something, real quick, and getting it out there. And that was pretty cool to see. Reading for yourself. Reading for yourself can be done. Not everybody is able to read for themselves, however. The reason being, when, being readers makes us no different than our clients out there. We want readings when we're in a crisis. And if you're like me and can't step away from the situation and circumstances and just do a reading pretending it's for someone else and not involve your feelings and emotions and personal opinions in it, you're not going to be able to do the reading, because you're going to sit there and wonder, are you reading it how you want it to be, how you think it is? You're going to be second guessing yourself, or you're going to know exactly what the cards are saying and be frustrated and aggravated because that's not what you were hoping was going to come out. So then you're possibly going to keep pulling additional cards to try to get the answer you're looking for, or just sit there and keep doing reading after reading on the same thing. So unless you're able to be completely biased, shut down all your feelings and emotions and attachments to the situation, you're not going to be able to do the read for yourself. So that is something that not everyone is able to do for those reasons. In with that, I see a lot of times posted on forums, in chat rooms and things like that, different groups, people that have attempted to do a reading for themselves, and they turn around and they might put in the forum discussion, I just attempted a reading for myself. These are the three cards. I put 3 cards. These are what they are. Can somebody tell me what the reading is? That causes problems too, because number one, what was the exact question, the exact wording? How did you answer it? That is important. Yes, we can open the phone lines at any time. And if the person that I'm answering some of these questions for would like to call in instead of chit-chatting in the chat room back and forth with it, because I know you're in the middle of a storm, you can feel free and do that as well. The problem with going and posting someplace or asking someone, I did a reading for myself, I pulled 3 cards, I pulled 5 cards, can you tell me your meaning behind it? That's really not going to work. It will to an extent, but there's more things involved to what exact way did you word the question? Did you ask a question, or did you just throw a topic out there? What exactly was the wording when you did this? What was the layout that you used? Or did you just lay them straight across? Did you give any or all of your cards that you pulled specific positions? In other words, somebody might be asking about which they're debating between job A or job B, and they want to know which of the two looks like the better job. There's lots of different ways you could do it. You could randomly pull one card, and it's for job A. The next card is random general card about job B. And then the third card could be just general info that you need to know regarding the 2 jobs, what you have to think about that would apply to both of them when you're considering it. Or did you just say, what do I need to know about this specific job, and pull them? Or was it, should I take the job? The exact meanings for each card that's pulled is also important, because if we're doing just looking at the 3 cards that you pulled in general about a topic, it's not necessarily going to provide the specific information that you were looking for with each of the cards. Another way of doing like a reading like that could be, what's the positives with job A? What's the negatives with job A? And do the same thing for job B. The positives, the negatives. There's so many ways of doing readings. A lot of people tend to think that you have to follow set guidelines or set layouts and spreads that you find in the books, the Celtic Cross, or a lot of people do learn starting out with 3 cards and it's past, present, future, and then they are confused. Okay, I'm pulling 3 cards. How do I do this with I already know the past and the present. Here I want additional info, and they don't know what to do because they get caught up in the basics of how they first learned it. Becca, if you would like, you can call in, and if that's going to work better for you on the phone, that way you can hear me, and we can do it back and forth better than in the chat room and getting cut out. I know you're having the storms, so if you would like to call in, you can do so. Just so anybody new listening, so that you know, the phone line's open. If you're calling in, I need the volume turned off. Otherwise, we're just going to get the feedback and I'm not going to hear you at all. The other thing is we don't have hold capabilities. So if I'm on the phone chatting with somebody that's called in, I need you to please wait until I'm completely done before you pick up and try to call in. And if you're calling in to get a reading, I need a specific question, not just see what's going on. That I was getting a lot, when I do face-to-face readings, and when I was doing 2 weeks ago the fundraising event. You want to call in, Becca? You can. So getting back to reading for yourself, if you're just starting out, a good thing to do is to do a card of the day, actually. That way it's not really applying to anything specific, and you just shuffle. You pick a card for the day and keep a journal. Write down what the card was, if it was reversed or upright, and write down what you're getting off of it, and go through the day, and at the end of the day, go back and have a look and see if you had any of what you had written down in the morning or the night before. If, some of us aren't morning people and it's hard enough to get up and get ready and out the door in time, you can do the card of the day the night before or the next day. Hi, Gina. How are you? Are you calling in, Becca? You can do so at any time. All right, you have the line open?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, you can call in, Becca. And then, we can go back and forth a little bit with some of the questions I'm trying to answer that you had asked about. Again, people worry about spreads and which spread should I do. You don't have to do a set spread. I never do. I personalize all my readings. They basically have, I don't even do a layout. So the layout, if you want to call it that, is always done the same. I always start out with 3 cards. And I lay them 1, 2, 3 across. And that gives a general look and see what is going on, which direction the reading is going, because most of the time people have so much going on, they don't know what topic to ask about. And the first 3 cards ends up giving a focus point and a direction for the main things that need to be addressed. And then what I have them do is, once the topic is figured out with the first 3 cards, then each individual card that they pull will have a direct question, so that the most information possible can be gotten. Do you need the number, Becca? Or are you trying to get the phone working? You're in the storm. The number 615-692-1262. So when you're doing the readings, if you're just starting out and maybe you're getting confused because you learned a specific spread to use, and as you're going along, you're getting different kind of issues, different kind of questions, and you get stuck and it's not working for you. It could be because of the spread, and it's okay to change things up and do whatever you want with them when you're reading. Eric, how about you? Do you use set spreads, or do you just do whatever?
I generally, we have a call, but I do. Uh-oh. Hold on, Misha.
Hello.
Call me back.
Okay.
Wow, I totally screwed that one up.
It said call on hold and went dead. Okay.
I totally fat fingered that one. She's gonna call right back.
Alrighty.
No, I'm a little out of practice. No, I didn't. I don't normally use a set spread. Well, I take that back. I normally use 3 cards.
Right.
But I'll use 3 cards, and then it kind of tangents off into another question, and it's reshuffled at the same time. And the reason I shuffle in between is because, and I've had this happen on just a few professional readings that I've done, I've had it happen where you constantly get the same card showing up.
Right.
And that's just emphasizing the the lesson, whatever lesson is in that card, that's what tarot is trying to give to them. Now, how about that?
That's neat. Becca, are you here?
We got it now?
We have you now, honey. How are you?
Okay. I'm doing all right.
I'm not sure with your storms and issues that you've been having because of that, how much you heard.
Actually, it was very little that I actually heard because it just keeps freezing.
Okay. All right. Some of the questions that I was answering was the reading for yourself. And it's...
Right. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. Reading for yourself isn't for everybody. Not everybody's able to do it because when do we get a reading? Just because we read doesn't mean we're no different than the clients. We want a reading when we're in a crisis and something's going on and we're looking for some kind of solution or answer. If you're not able to be biased, step away from the situation, take away your emotions and feelings from it, and be unopinionated, just like you are for someone else, you're not going to be able to do it because you're going to sit there and second guess. Is this how you'd be reading it for someone else? Am I reading it this way because that's the answer that I want? Or if you are able to read it right, it's not the answer you want, start doing that psychic junkie thing possibly and keep pulling cards, seeing if it'll change slightly or keep redoing it. So not everyone can read for themselves. And I had started to address another question that I have seen happen a lot on forums and discussion boards where people say they're starting out, they're learning, or they don't know anything about it, and they just randomly pulled 3 cards and can somebody read them for the person? And you can, but it's not going to be accurate. Number one, that would be like you as a client coming to me, wanting me to explain a reading that another reader did. There's number one, how did you word the question? Did you make it a question? And one slight change of the wording can change the entire meaning. Did you pull 3 cards in random, 5 cards in random, and just lay them out? Or did you do a set spread? Did you give each card that you pulled a specific thing, an area to look at? And I had given an example. Somebody comes wondering about job A or job B. Is one choice, worse than the other or better than the other? Which one looks like the better prospect? There's lots of ways you can do that. You can pull 1 card for job A, 1 card for job B, pull a third for an overall look, what you need to be aware of regarding both of them. You can pull a card for the positives with job A, the negatives for job A, the positives for job B, the negatives for job B, and an overall for both of them. There's so many things that can be done. Me too, Gina, pulling every card because you want a different answer. Wait. So I see that a lot when I go to forums or discussion boards, people saying, somebody read these 3 cards, these are the 3 cards I pulled, and then name the 3 cards. That's not going to cut it. Unless, you're looking for general and no topic or question. So does that answer some of your questions, Becca?
Yeah, it does. It really does.
Okay. What, because I know you've been having, trying to get used to all of this yourself. So what problems or concerns were you having?
The reason why I ultimately did the reading was because there's a decision to be made that is a move for me and my kids and stuff. So that's ultimately why I did the reading.
Okay.
So in the reading, I got 3 cards because I just did 3 cards. Shuffle, solo question, throughout. And the 3 cards I got, I really don't. There's so many ways that it can be taken.
And that's why, okay, if I'm understanding you, Becca, you just looked at the situation in general. You didn't give a specific you didn't narrow it down specific, just a general look. And therefore, you didn't give any meaning for what each card specifications for what each individual card was going to be.
Right.
Okay, so you just pulled a random 3 to have a look at the move that you're doing.
Right.
Okay.
And it was just, I'm just wondering, should I move here? Because, I'll actually have health there, and there's a lot of pros that go against the cons. So, like I said, I just throw them out there. And there's so many meanings to each card that I actually threw out.
Right. And this is part of why now you're confused. Okay?
Exactly.
Do you have is it a situation, Becca, like I used the work as an example, choice A or choice B? Is it move here or move there?
My fiance, actually, his family is in California.
Okay.
And basically, they're having to move out of their house that they were in. And the situation where we're at right now isn't very good either. So we're looking to all move into a house together out in California.
Okay.
And so that, I worry about my kids and everything else. So it was just like, I don't know really how this is going to turn out.
Right, okay. Well, again, there's a few things going on with how you did it. You're so uptight about it, and so many concerns that you have. Not specifying specifically. You may have said, I want to pull these 3 cards about the move, but you're thinking about, children and in-laws and family and this one and that one all at the same time. The cards aren't even sure what part of the situation they want to answer. See what I'm saying? You're doing them. So it wasn't a matter of pulling 3 cards to see if I do this or not. You're doing that. So because cards are confused and you have all this confusion and chaos going on and thoughts that we all do, you're not able to read them. And for me or anyone else to read them, it's really not going to work out either, because what part of this were you asking? You looked at you pulled them looking at the move, and if it's a good thing or a bad thing, the move has to be done. It's happening, whether it's good or bad. So you have to. This is where the wording of the question or topic comes in. And there's, all different ways of doing it. You can look at it, how it's going to affect each person, and pull a card. How is it going to affect your son, you said, right? Pull a card. How's this going to affect my son? How's it going to affect me? How's it going to affect my husband and, whoever else is involved? Pull a specific card for each of the parties' concerns that you have. If you're concerned of, I don't know how you're going to manage all of it, if you're handling the packing and everything else yourself with
It's
very
not the
limited.
packing and everything. It's just like the financial aspect of it.
Right. Okay. Then make that its own topic. Keep specifics. The more specific and pointed you are with what you want to know, the better it is. Now, if you were coming to me in person and doing, say, even a 15 or a half hour read, this is your concern. I would shuffle the cards. I would have you pick 3, just in general, overall, what you need to know. And let's do that, actually. And what's coming up is, exactly for the most part, what I would expect. Swords, the air element, thought, your head, the things that go in the head. You're not calm. You need to relax. You need to categorize. The card upright with this, you have the rough waters on the one side of the boat and, the clear waters. You can see the swords are placed and pretty much proportioned. It's in reverse. You're all over the place. You already know this, and that's what this is about. So the first thing that this would be telling you is focus and categorize. You're not categorizing. Your middle card was the King of Pentacles. He's relaxed. He's sitting back. He's enjoying, everything he's worked hard for. He's, through focus. Hey, Priestess, reverse. Again, you're not connected. These 2 cards were on the end of the King of Pentacles. Being grounded. What this would also be representing is, categorize your things. You're worried about the packing. You're worried about how it's going to get there. You're worried about your son. You're worried about how you're going to do it all. Quitting your job. And you're getting just in a chaotic state. What I have suggested to people in the past that helps them out with this, don't get a piece, they tell you, get a piece of paper, write down the pros and cons. When you're debating about something, get a notebook. Get a small notebook, small writing tablet. Put 1 worry on the top of each page. If you sit there and you make a list on the same sheet of paper, all your concerns, then when you pull out that piece of paper, you're still looking at all the concerns that are already going through your head all at the same time. So that way, it helps the focus. Okay, I need to pack. Pull out the packing paper where you wrote packing on the paper. That's all you're looking at, and you're not seeing all the other stuff that comes after. You're focused on the packing. Have your list of what needs to be done. If you still have packing supplies to be bought. If you still have stuff to sell. Categorize and group it and separate it and uniform it. You're not. So they're falling out of the boat. They're on their heads. All over the place. See what I'm saying?
I'm standing on my head.
And that tends to help. Make sense?
It makes perfect.
And you have to do your readings that way too in a situation like this. And this is a situation, reading for yourself. This is a perfect example how reading for yourself doesn't work, because there's so much stress, so much emotion, so much tension, so much personal involvement. You can't step out of it.
Nope, I can't.
So that, that's a big one to be trying to read for yourself and doubting and question whether you can or not. I had a question in the chat room. Can anyone learn to read tarot? And yes, they can. It's a matter, not everybody can do readings though. No, I'm not talking about you with that. I'm going to address that though. Or if I don't get to it, that'll be for next week. What I mean by not everybody can read. They don't give thought to, just in general, they don't give thought to, how much it affects the person we're reading for. And how much the person they're coming to us with their problems. And, that has to be considered. There's tons of aspects when you want to go out and do this for others professionally or even just, for fun at parties. What else were you worried about with your questions that you had, Becca?
The pregnancy. I'm waiting on my blood work and everything like that.
I'm not hearing you. You faded out, honey. You're what was that about pregnancy?
Yeah, pregnancy. I took 2 pregnancy tests. They were both negative.
But you're late.
Right.
But you're late.
And, yeah, like a whole month late.
Okay, I get questions of pregnancy a lot, and I'm going to tell you, what I think I, had already suggested to you, and I would tell anyone. If you're worried you're pregnant or not, whether you've taken the test or not, go see an OBGYN or a medical doctor, because you're asking probably, well, in your case, you definitely are, because you're late. Well, if you're late because you're pregnant, you need the OBGYN anyway to get this pregnancy. I have blood work done, so. Okay. If you're not pregnant and you're late, it's something going on, maybe hormonal or whatever. So, again, you still need your medical doctor. So,
I think it actually might be stress.
Yeah, I'm sure that it is. I'm sure that it is. Absolutely.
Hey, Becca, if it helps you calm you down at all, Becca, I've sat here and pulled about 3 different times while you've been talking with Misha, and the main card that I keep getting here on my end is the 10 of Cups.
There you go.
Which is prosperity.
Okay.
Which is prosperity. So it's always darkest before the dawn, that kind of thing. So struggle through. It'll be fun.
Good. I've had 3 years of struggling, so I'm ready to see that light at the end of the tunnel. So ready.
And, right now it's, a move's a big deal anyway.
Right.
And stressful. Now you're talking, out of state. So, and how much do you want to lug? And,
Yeah. I mean, this is where I was born and raised. So this is a big deal for me. Right.
You're losing a piece of your childhood, what you're familiar with. Besides the daily stresses of the move. It's no wonder you're, going out of your mind.
Yeah. It's I understand that, a lot of people will be feeling the same way. So I try to look at it as it could be worse. At least I know where I'm going, and I know that I have to get somewhere besides here.
Right. And you're not going to be alone when you get there.
Yeah.
you're going to have, more family.
Which will be nice, because I lost both my parents, so
Okay.
it'll be nice to have a family again.
See, that probably also, though, adds to wanting to keep the familiarity.
Yep.
It's one of those catch-22 things, and I totally understand that. Did you have any other reading tarot questions?
No, that was it. That was really it. I know I'm going to buy me some oracle cards. I think I'm going to go with some of the, there's an angel set that I really like, and a fairy set that I really like. So between those two, I'm going to get me one or the other.
Okay. And oracles cards are done different than tarot, so don't confuse the two. We did touch on that a little bit privately before.
Yes, we did.
But there's a lot of oracle decks out there. There's animals, there's totems.
I've actually noticed that.
Yeah.
When I was looking them up, I'm like, wow.
Yeah, and it holds to the topic, just like a lot of the tarot decks are starting to do too. But with those, it's completely separate, so don't go confuse the two trying to do the tarot with the oracle. Okay?
Alrighty.
Alright, you take it easy, and everything's going to work out.
Thank you very much, and you were so helpful.
Good, I'm glad. Question in the chat room, some ethical guidelines that should be followed, do's and don'ts. Very good question. I actually have mine, and I have them posted on my website, and when I go do readings at parties or events or anything, I have them printed out on a sheet as well. Some, when it comes to ethics, it can vary, but there are certain ones that really everyone should follow. Also, some of mine aren't in there because I'm required by law here in Pennsylvania to state it's for entertainment purposes only. So that's put really small, the fine print down at the bottom. And I worded it by saying we all have free will, and you have the free will to make your choice. However, the law requires me to state it's for entertainment purposes only, or something similar. One of the things that people do want to consider is an age limit. Children. Will you read for children? Won't you read for children? If you won't, are you going to stipulate nobody under 13, anybody 13 and older, 16, 15, 18, what limit age are you going to do? You're reading for children. It's a little bit different. Children, I've done it for children. I do request parents there, and they give the permission that they're having it done. Especially at some of the events that I do, the kids are there. It's family events and things. You want to always understand, people's feelings. They're coming to us with an issue, usually. There's few that come just to test the psychic thing, things like that. But they come with an issue. And you have to understand that, you're being put in a position where people are emotionally upset. That's really not, as far as ethic goes, that's something you want to know with yourself ahead of time and be prepared for. Not everybody is able to be there for somebody in crisis, whether they're a loved one or a stranger. One of the things is that I also have is you as the client and me as the reader, we both have the right to end the reading. I have the right to not read for you for whatever reason, and I don't have to explain it. It rarely happens, but it has happened on a couple occasions, and it's only been this one person at a specific event, and it's one of those people where you just look at them and the energies make you go ill, and just can't do it. Also, the person was so creepy and questionable. He got to where I was, and that's when the cops had come along questioning him for his ID, because they wanted to be able to look him up, because he just had that weird energy vibe thing going on. And they did that right where I was, and he proceeded to, argue and everything else. And then he looked at me and said, when I'm done, you're going to read for me? And I just politely looked at him and said, no, I won't. When you're finished, you need to move on. You don't have to read for anybody that makes you uncomfortable for whatever reason. And if you're in the middle of a reading and it has to stop either by your choice or the client's choice, refund them the money. Don't expect if they've paid you. They didn't get what they came there for. Money should not be exchanged for that. Is there a minimum age? Going back to the age thing. I've had them, believe it or not, the youngest I've had, which is rare, but I've had it for the girl who's about 8. People say, some people have the belief you shouldn't do it for anybody under 18. One of the most heartbreaking places that I've personally done them at was at a high school. They were doing an overnight thing. They called it something, but it was basically a once a year keep the bad troublemaker kids off the street that usually are hanging out on corners and things like that, and do an overnight. It wasn't to sleep, though. They had to have activities throughout the entire evening, and, stay awake, an all-nighter thing. And I was asked to be there for a 2-hour time period. And let me tell you, people say, I won't even bother reading for a team because what the hell do they have going on? They don't know nothing about life. Let me tell you. If their parents are going through divorce, they're going through it. They're going through the ups and downs of the fighting and being the pawn between mom and dad. They're being abused. They're having God knows what done to them. It was really a draining, heartbreaking night, actually. Everyone that came to me had a big time issue. So minimum age is a personal decision. One of the things that you do want to be careful if you are going to read for children is the depictions of the cards. Some decks use a whole lot of nudity, and other decks, there's no nudity. There's fairy tale decks out there. Lisa Hunt actually has a deck out for fairy tale, as one of the examples. So, there are kid-friendly decks out there. Some other do's and don'ts and ethical things. Don't drink alcohol. It's hard to say don't have the client, drinking because, well, how many times are we doing it at a party where alcohol is involved? But if they're, falling over and can't even stand, no, I'm not doing it for you. No drinking of alcohol by me. Prefer the client not, but you can't avoid that. So circumstances being what they are, you don't want them falling over drunk. Some of the other ones I'm trying to think of, there's a lot of them, that confidentiality, I would say, is the biggest. You have to trust your reader. That, and your friends have to be able to trust you. You have to, people are coming to you with their issues. Like kids at the high school, they were the problem kids, keep them off the street night. They're problem kids. They're in the middle of big problems that, hopefully the majority of us will never experience. So confidentiality is the number one. People have to trust that you're not going, they have to trust me that they're not going to tune in or watch an archive and I threw out their name and their story out there to everybody viewing. Giving examples and things, just general from reads. No names are being mentioned. Nobody knows who it is. It's a general, this occurred. Are settings important? Yes, settings are important. And I say that coming from the empathic side of me. A bar. Loud, obnoxious, pounding, screaming music, blasting right there. No. Picking up, you might pick up everybody's energies. You're not able to hear. You're screaming over top of anybody. If the environment that you're in is unsettling to you as a reader, then it's not a good place to be doing a reading, but you can do it anywhere. One of the events that I do is a carnival for the fire department, because it's a volunteer fire department. I go and the money, the percentage of all the money goes to the volunteer fire department. Yeah, noisy and stuff, but you do learn to block your surroundings out for the most part. Ended up getting hoarse, laryngitis sounding by the end of it because you have to talk louder. Another thing that you want to always make sure, you get people coming to you with girlfriends or as a couple, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. You want to make sure and ask you want this together or privately. Could get awkward depending on what might come up or if there's ongoing issues. Lots of times I've run into the couples, they come over together and they're just like, can we both sit here while I get the reading? Can she sit here? Sure, if you want to. I'm not going to hold back any info that comes out. And usually they don't care. I get certain situations where they sneak off when the partner is not around or looking, that they sneak off if they know there's a potential for some info to come out. Had a case like that recently, actually. She came to me because the cards came out, and she already knew the circumstances weren't any good. Very emotional situation, and we've got through the reading, and she was chit-chatting with me. She was ready to leave, and partner, the boyfriend, came by. So immediately he was irate. Wouldn't look at me, wouldn't come near me, just started screaming at her, come on, let's go. And I just knew, he knew that I knew what kind of crap he was doing and going on, and he knew she had already known and had it confirmed. They had walked away a bit and stopped, and you could tell he was giving her hell and screaming at her, and he was just eyeballing me. If looks could kill, he would have been, putting those swords through me. And off they went. So that's another thing that you want to always be careful of. Make sure, they're aware. Are you sure you want this done in front of someone else? How about you, Eric? What do you follow?
Well, I have to agree with everything you said so far. The only thing that I might want to throw in there and mention is I won't read for the intentions of others, and I won't read for medical.
Yes.
So when somebody asks you, well, what will so and so do in the future? I can't answer that.
Right. Yes. Very good. I forgot those.
And then the medical's kind of a given because,
yeah,
a deck of plastic cards can have nothing to do with how your liver's functioning. So please don't think that, people.
Right. Absolutely. You have a medical thing going on, go see a medical doctor. Although this has on occasion meant back pain.
Yeah, but isn't that terrible? It does have a card that says death, and that's not what it means.
Exactly. Right. And that's one of the biggest things that I get from people. They're ready to pick, and I hear them whisper to them, not the death card, anything but the death card.
I can think of 2 or 3 cards right off the top of my head that are a lot worse than death.
Yes, absolutely. So one of the habits that I started actually adapting to, because I was hearing the mumbling and the whispering, I don't want the death card, over and over again, I would ask the people, have you ever had a reading before by anyone? And even if they say yes, I let them know that the death card does not mean a physical death. It's not what Hollywood has, made it appear to be. And a rebirth, yes, absolutely, you're correct. Rebirth, new beginnings, an absolute ending to a situation. The horrible situation you were in has died and ended. So you can move on to happiness. And What was the other one you said that I forgot? The medical. Well, that goes without saying.
Well, that's kind of why you got to say it. You know what I mean? Because people, especially new readers, sometimes they don't. You know, when you first make that connection, I think you'll agree with this. When you first make that really strong connection with your first paying client, and you really you know you kind of holding your chest out, you know, because you feel really good. That's when you're most dangerous, because that's when you're most likely to let your ego get in the way of what the cards are actually trying to say. So
Right.
I think sometimes the stuff that you would think we shouldn't have to say is sometimes the stuff that you got to yell and scream the loudest. Sometimes.
Very good points. And I learned that the hard way, I guess. Because I had that's the same, and you know, somebody described ego this way: when you start trying to rationalize. You know, when I started, I'd be doing a reading on somebody's job. And I'm in the middle of, you know, the positives, the minuses, what to look out for. Things like I was going over earlier, and all of a sudden in my head I hear red convertible. And I'm ignoring it and continuing to read about the job, and it's getting louder. Red convertible. And I'd ignore it, because as I'm reading, then I got distracted because I'm trying to think, well, what in the hell does a red convertible have to do with this? And I was trying to connect the dots, and I couldn't, and trying to ignore it. So then finally, I couldn't even concentrate on the reading. I was fumbling, I was stuttering, and I just finally stopped. I said, look, this has absolutely nothing at all, I don't think, to do with what we're discussing. However, I keep getting red convertible. What the hell does that mean? Each time I did that, the people would burst out crying, because it was that much of an important piece of info that they needed. And I learned after, it took about 5 times, I would still ignore it and try to, and then I just realized, no, when I get, you know, in my head a vision or a word pop in my head, regardless of what the topic is, I need to stop and say it. When we try to analyze the info is when we're trying to take away that higher connection. Don't you find, Eric?
I would agree. And people need to learn to trust their intuition.
Yep.
Not necessarily always go with your gut, but generally your first feeling is correct.
Yes.
You know?
Absolutely. You'll learn that the hard way.
Yeah.
Becca's saying, yes, she learned that too. Yes, you do get whacked with the 2x4. With readings too, if you don't get it, like Eric, you mentioned earlier about, you know, you'll reshuffle because if the same card comes out over and over. And the funny part with that is I don't do that. I will keep addressing the question. But what I will notice is the cards are spread, they're out, it's the same topic, so I'll still have them keep pulling, but it'll be similar cards that keep coming up. If, you know, there's no more info and they need to know to whatever it is, you know, this is a dead end, whatever. The same similar cards that tells you the same thing keeps coming up. And when that happens, I'm really happy when it's face to face, because they're able to keep looking at the images, saying, oh yeah, okay, I get it. Where when you're doing it over the phone and they can't see the cards you're pulling, you just sound like you're using up the time and being a broken record, saying the same thing over and over.
Yep.
So that's funny. You get the same card doing it, and I get all the similar cards when that starts happening. Also, another thing that happens on occasion. You're sitting there, you're shuffling, and card will just fly out of the deck in the middle of shuffling or fall onto the table, the reading area that you're using. That is always significant. And I always put that to the side to address. It always ends up being a significant card, unless, of course, you outright, you fumbled. Do you have that happen a lot with the card coming out?
I personally haven't.
No.
No. I got really big hands though, so even a standard sized rider weight hides in my hand pretty good. So I haven't done a 52 card or a 78 card pickup yet. So.
Right. Okay. Yeah. If it's multiple ones, then it's because I messed up with the shuffling. But on occasion, I've had one fly out. One that happened to actually Gina, I believe. Just recently. Well, I hope that a lot of the questions that I've had over the last 2 weeks, because this is, being held up for a while, I wanted to collect the questions for the same topic. I'm going to be doing this each week now. With summer coming and people on vacation and traveling and a lot of paranormal events and reading events going on. I am free with no guests, so you're stuck with me each and every week and the topic of the evening. So keep your questions coming in that you would like to see addressed and get answers to. And I gather similar questions under the same topic each week and address them and have the phone lines open for mini reads each week as well. You can find me for a full reading at terrorbymisha.com. And for those that missed it last week, I'm going to offer it one more time. The same special that I was running for the fundraiser that I was doing 2 weeks ago. Get a half-hour reading for $50. Turn it into an hour reading. What's the catch? You have to make sure to like the card's Facebook page and mention that you heard it on the show tonight, and that's that's it. Place the half-hour reading, and we'll arrange a time convenient for both of us. With that note, everybody still in the storm, stay safe. I'll be getting them during the night while I'm sleeping, and have a fantastic week. Good night. All the snow days that we had to make up. Some built them into the calendar, some didn't, but took away the vacation days, through the holidays and things like that, and shortened days off. They made half a days, full days to make up for them. So be safe and extra careful out there, because in the next couple weeks, as the days go by, more and more kids are going to start being home and running around in the streets, running out, chasing their ball, riding their bikes, whatever. So you want to be extra safe and extra alert coming up in the next couple of weeks with that. I've been getting a bunch of questions from people. Sending me emails. A lot of the questions I've been getting are from people that are just starting out reading or are running into problems that they're confused about. So the topic this evening that will include a lot of the questions lately that I've been getting is going to be about reading for yourself and how many cards you need to do a reading has also been one of the questions that's been asked that we can include in that. You can do as far as that one. I'll do that one first. The person asking about, a lot of the questions reading themselves with the storms just got blown out of the chat room I see right now. So I will start with how many cards you need to do a reading. 1. You can do a full reading with just 1 card. Or, if you're using certain spreads, they require, especially if you're following like the Celtic Cross and things, they require a certain designated amount of cards because they have certain layouts and positions for them that they follow. But you can use as little as 1 card or endlessly. I'm not going to be able to do the reading because you're going to sit there and wonder, are you reading it how you want it to be, how you think it is? You're going to be second guessing yourself, or you're going to know exactly what the cards are saying and be frustrated and aggravated because that's not what you were hoping was going to come out. So then you're possibly going to keep pulling additional cards to try to get the answer you're looking for, or just sit there and keep doing reading after reading on the same thing. So unless you're able to be completely biased, shut down all your feelings and emotions and attachments to the situation, you're not going to be able to do the read for yourself. So that is something that not everyone is able to do for those reasons. In with that, I see a lot of times posted on forums, in chat rooms and things like I know, for an example, I believe it's Mary Greer, had done a demonstration years ago where she stood up and she shuffled the deck and she did, I think it was a 78 card read in, I think it was 5 minutes or something, real quick, and getting it out there. And that was pretty cool to see. Reading for yourself. Reading for yourself can be done. Not everybody is able to read for themselves, however. The reason being, when, being readers makes us no different than our clients out there. We want readings when we're in a crisis. And if you're like me and can't step away from the situation and circumstances and just do a reading pretending it's for someone else and not involve your feelings and emotions and personal opinions in it, you're not. Hi everybody, welcome to It's in the Cards. Hope everybody's well, stay safe. For those in the middle of storms right now, we're expecting it in the next few hours to start up. It's going to be a long-lasting storm. They're saying not start till around midnight and last until noon tomorrow. The weather has warmed up after the winter. I'm not saying anything or complaining about the heat. Talk to me in about a month or so when it's 100 out. Then it might be a little different story. I hope everybody's had a fabulous week. School's winding down. Colleges, for the most part, I think, are out. And the rest of the schools start getting out here next week. Some not till the following week, depending on how they handle